welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. My name is Tulisi and I will be bringing you South African true crime stories. Now, if you like me and you enjoy watching crime documentaries and true crime, then do subscribe and stay tuned. So today, because this is my first video, I thought it was fitting for me to pop a bottle to celebrate just finally doing this, because I've been pushing this back for so long and now I'm finally doing it. I don't know where this is gonna go, but I'm very excited for this journey to success, to greatness, to just everything nice. Cheers.
Clink, clink.
So yeah, let's get into it. So today's story is about a lady named Lindy Mangaliso. I don't know if you guys have heard about her before, but when I did my research, it was the first time I heard of her. But another thing about South African true crime is that it's not well documented, so I understand why it was the first time I heard about her. So Lindy, she came from a very good family, a very loving family. Her family was, or her parents were very well educated. Her mom held a Bachelor's of Arts in Social Science and her dad held a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Education from the University of Fort Hare. Her dad was also the principal of Langa High School for more than 20 years. So her family was very respected in the community. They were quite a respected family. So after matriculating in Langa High School, Lindy went on to pursue a nursing career in Port Elizabeth. So she went on to do her nursing training in PE, and while she was doing her nursing training, she met a man by the name of Victor Mangaliso, who would become her husband at some point. Now, Victor at the time worked at a bottle store, and they were from two different worlds. Victor was working at a bottle store at the time. His parents, his dad was a cook in a hospital, and his mom was a domestic worker. Now, at first, Lindy's parents didn't approve of their relationship, and they thought Victor wasn't good enough for their daughter. But at some point, Lindy managed to convince them that, you know what, guys, I love this man and I'm gonna be with him anyway. And eventually they came around and they just let her have the relationship. After some time, Lindy and Victor got married, and after they got married, they moved into Victor's parents' home in Gugulethu. While they were there, Lindy then completed her nursing training and got a job in Grooteskiel Hospital as a nurse. While working as a nurse, she started venturing into some business with her own capital and some money that her mom had given her. So first she bought a butchery, followed by a second butchery, and then she bought a KFC franchise in Gugulethu. Now, business was going really well for the girl, and the girl was just, doing the most. And then she decided that, you know what, I think this nursing thing is not for me. So she quit her nursing job and focused on her businesses full time. Now, at the time, Victor was working as a sales representative for Nestle, and then he also quit his job and joined his wife full time in her businesses. Now, throughout the marriage, Lindy's parents, or her mom especially, were very concerned about her well-being, because apparently Lindy's personality aroused violent behavior in Victor, and he would become violent with her. So at times, she would call her parents at odd hours of the morning, like at 2 a.m. to come pick her up because Victor was assaulting her and all those things. And he usually did these things when he was drunk. So sometimes Lindy's mom would come over to try and solve the problem and speak to Victor, but it would really be useless, because the next day when he's sober, he would act like nothing happened and he would be the sweetest gentleman. So it didn't really help. So after a while into the marriage, just Lindy grew tired, grew humiliated and angry because of her husband's humiliating ways, his cheating ways, his womanizing ways, his drinking, just his violence and abuse, basically. She tried at numerous occasions to just save the marriage, but it didn't work. She tried and tried and tried to save her marriage, but it just didn't work. So in 1984, Sis made a very tough decision. In 1984, Lindy decided that you know what, I'm tired and I'm gonna kill my husband. And to this end, she needed help. She needed some assistance. So she turned to a man named Washington Ngawe. This is when we're introduced to Washington. Now, Washington was one of the employees at one of her butcheries. Washington had only been working for Lindy for only a whopping 2 months. 2 months. Now, I don't know, but how do you approach someone who's only been working for you for 2 months and ask them to kill your husband? I don't know, sis, but could never be me. But also maybe she knew Washington from way back, but I think they would mention if she did know Washington from long ago. So I'm guessing she only knew him for 2 months. So she then asked Washington to help her kill her husband. At first, Washington is a bit skeptical because obviously killing a person is not a joke. But then after she had asked him about 3 times, and he also realized that she was willing to pay a lot of money to get rid of her husband, he then agreed to help her. So Washington then goes and finds 2 other men. So he finds one, a man by the name of Sipho Peter. He finds a man by the name of Sipho Peter, and then Sipho Peter then goes to find another man by the name of Mbuzeli Shelini. So about a month later, after Lindy first approached Washington, Sipho, and Mbuzeli, along with Lindy, have a meeting. So on that night, Lindy tells them, okay, tonight is the night, I need you guys to get the job done. But for some reason, Victor doesn't arrive home on time that day. He was out doing Lord knows what. I'm guessing probably with another woman or drinking or whatever he was doing. But by the time he gets home, the men have already left and he doesn't get killed that night. And Lindy has this to say about that. Quote, "My husband is a very lucky man." Close quote. So now Lindy is worried because how does Victor not arrive home on time on the night he was supposed to be killed? So he then goes to Washington and asks Washington, yo dude, are you sure you guys can be trusted? Because I think he was tipped off, and Washington reassures her that no, they didn't tip him off, they can be trusted, and you have nothing to worry about. Now, a few days before the murder, Lindy finds out that her husband has another girlfriend, and this time it's a schoolgirl. So obviously she's not too happy about this, and she confronts Victor, asks him about it, and obviously he denies. But then he later confesses and apologizes for it. But for Lindy, this was really the final straw, and she had just about had enough of Victor's lying and cheating and womanizing ways. So on the 15th of December 1984, Lindy calls Washington and tells him, yo, you guys must get ready because we're gonna do this. On the following night, December 16th, 1984, Victor gets called out to come inspect an alarm in one of the butcheries that had gone off for the 2nd time that night. And when he gets there, he discovers that it was a false alarm. Personally, I think that's very suspicious. Don't you guys think? I think that was part of the plan. I think that was part of the plan to get him out of the house. But then when that happens, he discovers that it was a false alarm, and this only makes him very much irritated. So he calls Lindy and tells her, you know what, you better be out of that house by the time I get home because it's not gonna be nice. So Lindy then calls Washington to tell him to tell the guys to come over to the house and get the job done. But I think this was already done before he even went to go inspect the alarms, because the alarms are just suspicious for me personally. That's what I think. So the guys, Washington, Peter, and Mbuzeli, drive to Lindy's house. When they get there, Washington stays in the car, the other 2 men hop off, and Lindy lets them into the house while Washington then drives away. After they've entered the house, Lindy then shows them the main bedroom, She then also shows them where 2,000 rands worth of cash is hidden in the house, and she then leads them to the children's bedroom where they hide and wait for Victor to come home. Sure enough, Victor gets back and he says to Lindy, quote, "I am not in the mood to beat you today, otherwise I would have beaten the daylights out of you," end quote. He then proceeds to make himself a snack and then heads to bed. Now Lindy all the time is obviously aware that these guys are in the house and what is about to happen, so she's obviously not sleeping, but she's sitting up in bed with Victor. Sure enough, the guys enter the bedroom, and after they enter the bedroom, Lindy then runs out of the bedroom into the bathroom, right? She then says she hears the bathroom door being locked from outside. Make it make sense. I don't know about you, but I think all of us keep our keys inside the room, especially bathrooms. No one keeps their bathroom keys outside the room. So okay, she's locked in the bathroom, and then she hears her husband ask the men what they want, and one of the men replying, "Where is the money?" She then says she hears a struggle, and then she climbs out of the bathroom window and goes to alert the neighbors, who I suspect call the police. Then obviously they discover that Victor died in the struggle, in the attack. So at first the police suspected that it was a work of an ANC hit squad because there had been some threats to extort money from some prominent black families. But Lindy reassured the police that neither her nor her husband were involved in any township nor national politics, so that was not a possibility. As the police investigation went on, things just started not to make sense because obviously that was not the truth and the story just started not to add up. Firstly, Lindy just started changing her statements, and at some point she said that she was sleeping next to her husband when the attack occurred, which didn't add up because her nightgown was completely clean, there was no blood on it. And then another part of her story that didn't make sense was how she climbed out of the bathroom window. That also started not to make any sense. Then eventually the police got a hold of Washington. Remember, Washington was the guy who dropped the two guys off at Lindy's house but drove off and didn't actually take part in the attack or wasn't present during the attack. So they got a hold of Washington and they charged him with conspiracy to commit murder. And in exchange for immunity from prosecution, he then turned state evidence and he basically told the police the whole story and who his accomplices were. So the trial of Lindy Mangaliso, Sipho Peter, and Mbuzeleni Shelini began on the 18th of March 1986 in the Cape Town Supreme Court. All three were charged with murder, and they all pled not guilty. They were all, however, found guilty, obviously, due to the overwhelming evidence and the confession from Washington. So Peter and Buzeli were both condemned to hang, so they were given the death penalty, while Lindy, on the other hand, was only sentenced with 20 years of imprisonment. They took into consideration the domestic abuse that she faced, the humiliation, just her state was not okay, so they took that into consideration and they only gave her 20 years of imprisonment. Another very interesting fact that I discovered while researching this case is that Winnie Mandela was actually a friend of Lindy Mangaliso's, and she would appear at the trial. She would show up at the trial on some days, and on the 4th of December she got pelted with orange peels, soft drink cans and sand by a crowd of angry protesters. So the protesters were just angry at Winnie, and they didn't understand why she was behind a murderer, why she was supporting a murderer. But on the other hand, Winnie says that it was the apartheid government who organized the protest and that it was all planned. So after the trial, Lindy's 3 children moved in with their maternal grandmother. Sombuzeli and Peter's sentences ended up being reduced to 20-year imprisonment sentences. As for motive of the crime, there are a lot of different takes on this. Some say her motive was his 500,000 Rand insurance policy, which would increase up to 1.2 million Rand if he had been permanently paralyzed or disabled. But I disagree personally. My opinion is that she had a lot of money. She had good businesses that were doing great. I don't think money was the motive. I think the motive here was just the domestic abuse that she was facing, and she just wanted to end her marriage. And to her, in that stage, during the time, it made sense to her for her to just kill her husband. I feel like that she felt like that was the only way out of it. So that's what I think. So I try to find out where Lindy Mangaliso is today. There's not much on what happened after the trial. I don't know if she served the whole 20-year sentence. I don't know what happened. But I came across an article that was written in 2020. The article is actually on her children and how they're doing well with the butchery businesses, and everything is just going great for them in terms of business. And it does mention that Lindy Mangaliso passed away in 2003. May her soul rest in peace. So yeah, that's the story on Lindy Mangaliso. That's it from me for this video. Hit the like button if you liked the video. Tell me what you think about the story. What's your take on it? What do you think the motive was? Comment down what you want to see from me next. What stories you want to see? Do you want to see a Q&A? Do you want to see anything else? Just put it down in the comment section below. Do subscribe. Please do subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. And do share the video with your friends. Till next time.